Part 3. At the crime scene. The next morning was bright and clear. There was no rain, just as Holmes had predicted. At 9 o'clock, Lestrade came with a carriage. They drove to Hatherley Farm and then to BOSCOMBE. Lestrade had news. "Mr. Turner is very ill," he said. "The doctors say he may not live much longer. He is about 60 years old. His health was already bad from his years in Australia. This murder has made everything worse." Turner was very kind to McCarthy. He gave him Hatherley Farm for free. No rent at all. He helped him in many other ways too. Holmes was quiet. Then he said, "That is interesting." McCarthy had very little money of his own. Turner gave him a lot. And yet, McCarthy wanted his son to marry Turner's daughter. He wanted his son to get all of Turner's money and land. And he was very sure about it, as if there was no question. But Turner himself did not want this marriage. Is that not strange? Lestrade shrugged. "I do not think about such things. I look at the facts." "And the fact is, James McCarthy killed his father." "You find facts very hard to look at," said Holmes quietly. Lestrade went red. They stopped at Hatherley Farm. The house looked sad. The windows were closed. There were no fires burning. Holmes asked to see McCarthy's boots. The maid showed him the boots the dead man wore on the day he died. She also showed James's boots. Holmes measured all the boots very carefully from many angles. Then they walked to BOSCOMBE Pool. It was a small lake, about 50 meters across. It was surrounded by trees and reeds. The ground was soft and wet. On one side was Turner's private park. You could see the red towers of Turner's big house above the trees. Holmes changed completely when he started investigating. He was no longer the calm, quiet man of Baker Street. His face became intense. His eyes shone. He moved fast and low like a hunting dog. He ran back and forth along the grass, looking at the ground. He pointed at Lestrade. "You went into the pool with a rake?" "Yes," said Lestrade, surprised. "I was looking for a weapon." "But how did you? Your left foot. It turns inward. I can see your tracks everywhere. They go into the reeds and disappear." "Oh, it is a pity you all came here before me." A crowd of people walked through the most important clues, like a herd of buffalo. "But I can still see 3 sets of tracks from the same feet." Holmes lay down on the ground with a magnifying glass. He spoke as he looked. "These are James's footprints. Twice he walked. Once he ran. When he ran, his heels are barely visible. He ran when he saw his father fall. That matches his story. Here is the father. He walked back and forth. He was waiting. And here, look at this. Tiptoes. Unusual boots. Very square. These prints come, go, come back. Yes, they came back for the cloak. Now where do they come from?" Holmes followed the tiptoe tracks. They led through the trees. He went deeper into the forest. He stopped at the biggest tree, a large old beech tree. He lay down on the other side of it. He looked at the ground very carefully with his glass. He picked up something that looked like dust and put it in an envelope. He also found a stone. It was a heavy, jagged rock lying in the moss. He picked it up carefully. He followed a path through the woods to the road. There the tracks disappeared. On the way back, Holmes showed the stone to Lestrade. "This is the murder weapon," he said. "I see no blood on it," said Lestrade. "There is no blood," said Holmes. But grass was growing under it. It had only been there a few days. Before that, it was not there, and it matches the shape of the wounds perfectly. There is no other weapon. This is the one. "And the killer?" asked Lestrade. Holmes replied carefully. The killer is a tall man. He walks with a limp on his right leg. He is left-handed. He wears heavy shooting boots with thick soles. He had a gray cloak. He smokes Indian cigars using a cigar holder. He carries a small, blunt penknife. There are more details, but this is enough to find him. Lestrade laughed out loud. You are joking. I cannot walk around the countryside looking for a tall, left-handed man with a bad leg. That is your choice, said Holmes calmly. You work your way. I will work mine. I think I will return to London this evening. The case is finished. Finished? The mystery is solved? Yes. Who did it? The man I just described. But who is he? It should not be hard to find out. This is not a big area. Lestrade shook his head and left. Holmes and Watson drove back to the hotel for lunch. Holmes was quiet during lunch. He looked worried. After the meal, he said, Watson, sit down. I need to talk to you. I have a problem. I need your advice. Of course, said Watson. Tell me. Part 4. Holmes explains the mystery. Holmes lit a cigarette and leaned back in his chair. He began to speak. There are two things in James McCarthy's story that are important. Two things that caught my attention straight away. You noticed them too, Watson, but you used them against James. I used them in his favor. The first thing, his father shouted cooey before he saw James. James was in Bristol. His father did not know he was back, so McCarthy was not calling James. He was calling someone else, the person he had a meeting with. And cooey is an Australian call, so the person he met was Australian. The second thing, the dying words. James heard his father say something like, rat. You and the jury thought that made no sense. The man was delirious. But I thought differently. A man with a sudden head injury does not become delirious so quickly. He was trying to tell James something. He was trying to say the killer's name. Holmes took out a folded map. He opened it on the table. It was a map of Victoria, Australia. I sent a telegram to Bristol last night. They sent me this map. Now look here. Holmes covered part of the map with his hand. What do you read? Watson looked. A rat, he said. Good. And now? Holmes moved his hand. Watson's eyes went wide. Ballarat. Exactly, said Holmes. The dying man, said Ballarat. James only heard the last part, rat. The father was trying to name the killer. He was saying, the man from Ballarat. That is incredible, said Watson. No, it is simple. Now we have three things. The killer is Australian, from Ballarat, and he had a gray cloak, and he knows this area well. The pool is not easy to find. Strangers cannot reach it easily. So this man lives nearby. At the crime scene, I found more clues. The killer stood behind the big beech tree during the argument between father and son. He smoked a cigar while he waited. I found the ash, Indian cigar, the kind made in Rotterdam. I found the end of the cigar too. It was not bitten. It was cut with a small, blunt knife. That is why I said he carries a blunt penknife. The end of the cigar was not in his mouth, so he used a cigar holder. The footprints were unusual boots, square, thick-soled. The killer walked on his tiptoes, which means he was trying to be quiet. But his right foot made a lighter mark. He put less weight on it. So he is lame in the right leg. The blow was from behind, and it hit the left side of the head. If you stand behind someone and hit them on the left, you must use your left hand. So the killer is left-handed. And from the length of his stride, I can tell he is a tall man, Watson said slowly. Tall, left-handed, lame right leg, thick-soled boots, gray cloak, Australian, from Ballarat, smokes Indian cigars with a holder, blunt penknife. He paused. Holmes, that sounds exactly like Mr. Turner. Just then, the hotel door opened. The waiter came in and announced, Mr. John Turner. A large old man walked slowly into the room. He moved with difficulty. His shoulders were bent. His face was very white, almost gray. His lips had a blue color. It was clear that he was very ill, but he was also tall and strong, or had been in the past. His face was deeply lined. His gray beard and thick eyebrows gave him a powerful look. He sat down slowly on the sofa. Holmes spoke gently. You received my note? Yes, said Turner. The lodge-keeper brought it. You asked me to come here, to avoid talk. I thought people would notice if I visited you at the hall. Turner looked at Holmes with tired, sad eyes. You know everything, don't you? I know about McCarthy, said Holmes. The old man put his face in his hands. God help me, he whispered. But I would not have let James hang. I promise you that. If he was found guilty, I would have spoken up. I am glad to hear that, said Holmes. I wanted to speak now. But my daughter, Alice, it will break her heart when she knows I am arrested. It may not come to that, said Holmes carefully. I am not the police. I am here because Miss Turner asked me. I am working for her. But we must save James. Turner nodded slowly. I am a dying man, he said. I have diabetes. My doctor says I may have 1 month left. I would rather die in my own home than in a prison. But I will tell you the truth. Holmes took out paper and a pen. Speak, he said. I will write it down. You will sign it. Watson will be a witness. I promise. I will only use this confession if James is found guilty. Otherwise, no one will ever see it.
Подпишись, пожалуйста, или хотя бы поставь лайк. 1 лайк не меняет мир, но меняет путь того, кто делится смыслом.